Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today it's raining outside, so if you're hearing pitter patter, sounds kind of like static. It's not static, it's actually the rain hitting the leaves here as I'm sitting in the forest. But today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that happens to all of us. We gain a bit of knowledge in a certain area. We start to learn words like vitamin C or macros like protein and complex carbs or whatever, and then we start to label things and oversimplify nutrition. And science understands nutrition to a point. There's a lot of information in science, and there's a lot of reasons or whys that science figures out. And then, of course, fast forward 10 or 15 years, they make a new discovery of a new why something's happening that was not necessarily apparent to science 15 years earlier. So the reason why I'm speaking about this is that in the last video where I talked a little bit about the importance of vitamin A that you can get from organ meat or retinol, some people started arguing with me in the comments and started saying, oh no, beta carotene is good enough and you can convert it into easily the daily allowance of vitamin A and all that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of missing links in that argument. And of course, the obvious ones are only in healthy individuals do they convert beta carotene to vitamin A efficiently at 3%, maybe 5%, but 3% is the stat that I read. And secondly, in people who have an impaired metabolism or an undernourished system overall, they will not be able to convert the beta carotene to vitamin A. And if they can, it'll be in a very limited capacity. So the reason why I'm just mentioning this is just there are false leaps of logic that happen based on the labeling conditioning that we're born into, based on the labeling science, based on the assumption that because we know a word to call a certain substance, that means that automatically transfers in every single sort of case. So say beta carotene here is the same as vitamin A over there. Of course, science proved that they're not exactly the same thing. There is something different between the two. Well, I'm saying that in every single food you eat, there are also differences. So just because you may say, hey, there's vitamin A in this and vitamin A in that, doesn't mean it's exactly happening through the same mechanism. Meaning that there is an overall nutritional benefit to this food that is not necessarily translatable into what nutrients are there. This is really what the shamans knew. The shamans didn't say, oh, how do I look at something under a microscope and find out, okay, what active ingredient is causing the situation? And that's the way modern day science looks at things. They say, okay, there must be one ingredient, not an overall energy or an intelligence to the overall structure of the food that is creating a certain effect. So the limitation of assuming that a food is just one active ingredient is that you're not taking into account the overall synergy in the food and the interaction that said food comes with, the power of that interaction. Like, what about that combination of nutrients creates a certain effect? You see, like, you could take a lot of elements in nature and you add another element and it totally changes what happens with those two elements. I mean, in worst case scenarios, there's explosions, right? So based on this, you cannot just isolate a food down to one nutrient. You can't. In some circumstances, it will work. It will create a certain effect that science has understood. But in other circumstances, there will be something unexplainable that happens that's based on this other synergy. And we could say it's a synergy between the elements that are involved in that food. But I would say it also goes beyond that. It goes into the intelligence. You could look at it like a structural blueprint in how that food is put together that is also at work. So just like this is a bobblehead experience from me to you, I'm speaking to you about something, there is also a communication between foods and your body. And some foods will remind your body of its natural state. It's like like tuning a guitar to a certain sound, right? If a string is out of key, then just by tuning it, by listening to what the right key is, you will start to harmonize. And then there will be a greater song. Well, according to the ancient yogis who practiced the power of sound known as mantra, there is this phenomena known as tuning. One such way to tune the body is through repeating a certain sound over and over again, or being immersed in a certain sound, which brings greater harmony. But the other thing to realize is that everything in this entire universe is vibration. And what is vibration? Vibration is sound. So when you want to heal a specific part of your body, it only stands to reason that ingesting something with a similar resonance may assist with an overall health side effect. Now, this may happen through certain herbs, this may happen through certain vegetables, this may happen through certain foods, whether it's organ meat like in ancestral supplements or the organ meat you get from your butcher to help reattune whatever organ that you feel is out of place or out of whack. But it can also happen through certain herbs. Now again, certain shamans knew this. They used certain plants or certain plant medicine in order to reattune the body when certain symptoms would show up. And they also noticed that sometimes when they used one plant, it was much different than using a combination of many plants or certain plants. There was a certain collective sort of song that was created from using multiple plants together. So really the reason why I'm making this video is to get you out of the idea of just nutrients, of just like, let's split our foods up into certain nutrients and say that they're all the same. Sorry, the rain has just picked up right now, so we're getting really nourished to the rain. But anyway, let's oversimplify carbohydrates for a second. If I said, hey, just eat straight table sugar because it's just a carbohydrate and all carbohydrates are the same, you would get a much different effect in the body than if you ingested complex carbohydrates through yams or through brown rice or oatmeal, right? You would get a different effect. So in that same tradition, also understand that anything that we can label through modern day science is also oversimplification of the intelligence of the universe and of nature. Understand that science is still way behind the overall intelligence. So don't get too married to what you read somewhere and this means this and that means that, and this detail of how many IUs or grams of nutrition is in this, and that's why this certain food creates this certain effect. There's going to be a partial truth to that, yes, but not a whole truth. There's still more truth to be learned and more truth to be realized. And a lot of times the only way you're going to realize it is through experiencing it. So that's why I say to you guys, hey, experiment with organ meat, experiment with different nutrition tips and tactics, experiment with the lower carb diet, experiment with a higher carb diet, experiment with not dieting at all, experiment with everything, find out what works. And this is going to give you a greater knowledge and a greater intuition of what is right for your body. You will start to know when your body is out of tune. Once you know what your body feels like when it's in tune, you'll start to be very aware when it's out of tune, and you'll also be aware of what makes it out of tune, what starts to take it out of tune, right? That's the journey we're on in this bodybuilding path. We're saying, okay, I feel this way when I do this and this, and then I start to feel off. My body starts to feel out when I eat this food, or when I train this way, or when I sleep this way. So some of the issues I run into is that I'm deeply in tune with a certain vibration, you could say. It came from meditation, came from training, came from a bunch of that. And I'm not saying that's not always evolving either. Of course, it's always evolving. You're always attuning to the next level of awareness, of self-awareness, of understanding the laws of cause and effect with certain vibrations and how they affect the body. But I can also feel where there's a resonance when things are in tune. And because of this, I can feel when something is out of resonance. Now, I can't explain through the limited sort of language to people why it's out of resonance, through their scientific language sometimes, because they say, hey, that's this label of this, or I labeled that leaf on that tree as vitamin 714, right? And this and that, like, this is another language they're saying to me, but it doesn't mean that what I'm experiencing isn't correct. So really what I'm speaking about is a deeper intuition in your physical body. The deeper intelligence that people have become disconnected from this overly active mind thing, instead of the law of cause and effect right here, people have gotten into I read something somewhere that somebody else experienced. I have no idea what that experience is, but I have a bunch of words to explain an experience that I don't understand. So deepening your experience is key. Experiment with things. Try some organ meat, or try eating carrots, whatever. I've eaten both. And I'm going to tell you that eating liver and eating carrots, totally different experience. Not even on the same planet. You can come up with a whole bunch of reasons why this and that, why carrots are the same. They are not the same. 100% not the same. And anybody with a real deep biochemistry background will probably be able to explain to you exactly why. But I'm going to say to you, my experience already teaches me without me having to come up with a bunch of words that are found in a book somewhere, right? Experience is king. So remember, when your mind starts to oversimplify things, remember that it is good to venture down that path of information for a period of time, but realize at some point that this information is limited. It's not telling you the whole picture. Sometimes you may discover something that science has not come up with a way to explain yet. And this can happen in all aspects of your life, even in your own medical path. Say you are trying to heal the body from some sort of affliction or something. And people are coming up with a bunch of scientific reasons for it, but in the end, none of them are working. None of them are producing results. At that point, it's time for you to say, how do I get back to the connection with the nature of the body? The intelligence in it, the deeper intelligence. Some believe that all disease is created from us being out of touch with the deeper intelligence in the body. That our minds are too active and they're starting to go off on their own instead of being with this moment, being with the energy that's around us, being immersed in here and now. If you have trouble with too active of a mind, start a meditation practice. This will help you become more aware and more in tune with what's here and now. So I hope this helps you out in your natural bodybuilding journey. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.